Hello everyone. Hopefully you are now getting this going live. I'm just going to double check that it has gone live on the other one. Yes, okay, that's good. Great, okay, so hi everyone. Hope you're all doing okay. Thanks for joining me on YouTube. It just means I can save the images at the end, which is actually quite handy, or the videos that is, and then give them to people that don't have access to maybe Facebook. Just to be easier. So anyway, I hope you've all had a really good week, and welcome to there's quite a few new members. I've got a post to put out for tomorrow just to say welcome on that front. Just some exciting stuff as well. I don't know if anyone watched the Grace and Perry Channel 4 Art Club that took part or happened yesterday, and I thought it'd be really good if any of you wanted to put your work forward for that. It'd be quite nice because it's based on the theme of animals. I've had a look into how you can upload it, and actually it will have to be individually. I can't upload it for you, but I'll put the details and information on the group chat so you guys know how to basically kind of access that information and then put your image up there as well. If there are any problems at all with you guys getting hold of this image or the video, then just let me know. I'm kind of flicking between the group chat and stuff just so I can make sure that everyone's okay and is trying to get hold of stuff. So just bear with me a little bit on that if I'm a bit slow. Just trying to get you guys all sorted. Let's just see. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's good. So I've started to draw out my dog. Don't worry, don't panic and think, oh no, why have you done that, Gemma? Why have you not shown us? I am going to show you. I just wanted to kind of go through that and just kind of sort of show you kind of where we're going to end up at, and I'm going to show you how to kind of get some of those details. You'll probably know as well, just even from the thumbnail of me starting, how kind of different it's kind of changed slightly as well. So I'm constantly reviewing and modifying as it goes. So some top tips that you need to do first of all is to simplify the shape of the animal. So this can apply to any animal that you're drawing. So rather than looking at it like a really complex animal with lots of potential details and quite tricky bits like the eyes and the nose and things like that, simplify it so it's much easier. And for me, I always go about this by using kind of a circular movement or circles and shapes to simplify the head. So if I start off with the nose, and then that's kind of for the head, so slightly bigger. And, you know, for the body, then you've kind of got this loose shape. You can use your other hand again to work on that. I just realised that my nails look awful. Thanks to the kids, that is. So again, that sort of big area here for the sort of tummy, and also the circular shape or elongated kind of ovals for the top of the shoulders on the dog there. So this is my one of my friend's dogs. She's actually got three. She's got three Labrador retrievers, and they are very good dogs, very well trained. So as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm sort of starting to kind of put the shape. Going from there, I'm starting to work on the detail then of the shape of the body. So I'm kind of using these circles and shapes to kind of help me then identify what's happening with the rest of the body. It's really important that you, first of all, keep looking at the image. Secondly, that you look at marker points on the body. So what I mean by that is when I'm coming now to this shoulder here, my marker point then for this leg is, notice how this knee, the back knee, is coming to the elbow of this leg. So it's really important that you kind of almost use it as a marker point to tell you, because if you end up with your knee being out here for the back leg or being down here, then that's not in proportion and it's not in perspective. So kind of work on that. You can do the other techniques that I've shown you, which is you can, if you want to do the whole picture using pencil, like loose measuring, you can do it like that. You can do it, like I've said, like using your other finger to kind of guide you loosely around the shape and kind of, work your way and telling your finger where the line is going. Or you can do a combination, which is kind of what I'm doing, and using these shapes as a marker point to help you with that. So I'm just going to carry on with this leg, because that is probably one of the fiddlier bits. And I'm not going to worry too much at the moment about putting in the detail of the toes. I'm just going to put in that as just an indication, okay? And then I'm going to come back and I can see that's kind of exactly where I want to be, that sort of elbow of the leg coming down. And again, I will come back to the paws, but I'm not worrying too much about them now. I'm just wanting to get that shape. So everything at the moment is just getting the basic shape. If you started off with the head and putting in all the details of the eyes and the nose and then carried on doing the body, it's to some extent, I mean, it's a bit like what Grayson Perry said in his documentary last night, which I thought was quite interesting, which he said, don't do the best bits first, save those to the last, because usually those bits, the bits that kind of require the extra detail and the effort, are then once your hand's warmed up, when your hand to eye coordination has got that little bit more focused and a bit better. So just kind of make sure that you give yourself that time to kind of warm up your drawing skills. And as I was sketching out the other one, which I'll come back to when I start to do the detail with you guys, is, it took me probably several attempts to kind of get the right shape. And now, because I've warmed up and I've been doing that just before seeing you, I feel that I'm now kind of looking at the dog in a much more comfortable way, perhaps, than I initially started. So kind of do bear that in mind, like give yourself a little bit of practice, even if like tonight, it's just a matter of you having a go and it doesn't necessarily work out exactly as you want to. You can then always come back to it and have another go tomorrow, because you'll find that the more times that you attempt any of the work that we've been doing, the better that you will become. So it does take practice and it does take time to do that. So don't worry about that. Now you can see this is a good example here where my marker point, that's way too high. So if you look at the dog, her name's Richie, so that'll be easier to say that. If you look at it here, I need to get that in line. So go back and, that's way too high up. So I can just move that across and rub that bit out, like so. Okay. And then coming back to the most important part, which is the face. So I've got the body, I've forgotten the tail as well. Let's just get the tail in whilst we're down this way. So again, I'm using the back here as a marker point. It actually is quite nice because that tail is just sitting on there and then it's sort of flicking out, flicking sort of that way, sort of like that. Okay, so coming back to the face. Now with the face, you've got this lovely kind of jaw or jowl of the of Richie. So I can sort of slightly start to put that in, coming over and up. That might be a little bit too big, actually. I'm a bit too big there, I think. So let's actually just get the proportions right first. So I'm just going to put that head in, which is this line here. And then I'm going to come down. So that'll be a bit easier. And again, you can kind of see where, so I'm kind of going wrong here. And I can see that before I'm even doing any more of it. So I'm just going to get that face a little bit further up, I think, the nose, because that's too far down. Notice that I'm doing everything quite faint as well, so if I go wrong, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's better. So I'm going to bring in the neck. That's better. And everything's very loose at the moment. It's not, you know, it's not a defined line. I've still got all my sketchings, my workings out. If the body's too big, I mean, at the moment, that I'm thinking that the head might be a bit too small, but let's just crack on for a second. And you can change it, you know. So nothing is final, so to speak. You're kind of working, it's a work in progress. And that's why it's important to have that kind of sketch-like quality. Yeah, so this head is too small compared to the body. So let's just get everything a little bit bigger. So it's a bit better. I'm just going to come up, take a different stance because it's frustrating me this bit at the moment. So I'm going to come up and do the ear, because then that will give me an indication about the size and scale slightly. And then I can bring that along. On the other side, that's a bit better. And then the chin, yeah, will come down. Let's just sort out this bit. Okay, so that's better. So you can see just from me doing this that I've not just gone, oh, I've drawn it and it's there straight away. You know, you do need to kind of be reviewing it as you're doing it and working with that. So that's a much more angled jowl like that. Oh, sorry. And then the eyes. Now the eyes, whenever you're drawing the eyes, you need to make sure that you draw the pupils as a circle like this. You do this with humans or any animal for that matter. The reason is that when you draw the eyes, they are circles. And then what happens with animals or humans or whatever it is you're looking at is you then have the eyelid over the top of that. Okay, so that then creates a much more realistic iris and pupil then to work with, because you've already got that circular shape. It's much harder to draw this shape and then try and squeeze in a pupil shape like that, because it doesn't look quite right, because you don't tend to see the full iris or the full, you obviously see the full pupil shape normally, but you don't tend to see the full iris shape. So that just allows you that kind of opportunity to kind of get that bit better, basically. So once you've got your kind of nose roughly drawn in, and again, you know, I can change this if I feel like it's too big or too small. I can kind of work on that. So nothing is permanent. That's the nice thing about, compared to last week with the shoe, doing it in pencil, you've got a lot more flexibility about what we're doing. So I'm just going to put in the eye. I think it's going to be sort of coming in there. And that is coming up in this area here. So again, that's a funny shape that I've done there. And so bring that. And then once you're happy with the shape that you've got for the dog, then you can rub out these areas. and just tidy it up slightly so that then we can come back to it and then start adding in the detail. So that's kind of the shape of the dog. And then if I go back to this one, I've started to kind of look a little bit more carefully at some of the lines and the marks that I can see. So things like the line, sort of the shadow underneath her chin, you know, kind of looking and seeing where there's kind of little bits of details around her eye, underneath her ear. You can start putting in those darker tones. By doing that, you're going to be able to start to give the picture some depth and some detail to it. Now, some of the bits on her, not all of them, but you can see with her fur, there's more textured areas than others. So this is where you're going to want to kind of build up and develop the piece of work. What I mean by that is, for example, like here, you can see there's some darker lines. So it's not going, I'm going to shade the whole thing in like this. It's looking really carefully. So you might do a very loose light shading and then apply some slightly darker and ones that sort of, you know, join up, because some of them are slightly joining up. Okay, so it's looking carefully and seeing kind of those bits, and I'll show you how to do that now. And also, again, with the nose and things like that, you know, that's going to require quite a lot of detail. The eyes, you can see here with this eye, what I've done is I've looked and seen where there's reflection. So I've left that top bit blank, as in I've not added any shade or tone to that. I've then done the pupil a bit darker, so I've pressed harder with my pencil to create that. And then I've gone a bit lighter because her eyes are kind of brown with the iris. So you want to show that it is darker than this light coming on it, but it is a different tone to the pupil. And you can do that by then changing the pressure that you're using on your pencil. Okay. So I'm now going to show you how to work on the nose, and then we'll kind of look at the face a bit more, and then I'll work into the fur with you guys in a bit more detail too. So I'm just going to just double check everything. So I feel like that actually that is a bit too high. So I'm just going to bring that down a bit. And again, I'm just going to start with this really basic shape. And I'm going to bring that in a bit as well. And the nose is kind of 3D because you've got the top edge of the nose and you've got the front of it, and you've got little bits of light just encompassing just the edge of that nostril. So I'm just going to, again, I'm not going to go crazy on the dark front just yet. I'm just loosely putting in the shapes of stuff first. I'm kind of looking carefully and seeing kind of the shape of the nostrils as well. So they're not just kind of like this shape. They're kind of a, oh, I don't know what you'd describe that, like a sideways tear shape or kind of oval, a bit fatter at the edge there. So I'm just going to take some of this line off there, because then you've got this shape of highlights. So on the nose, I'm just shading in really lightly on that at the moment. So I'm going to get a thinner rubber. If you've got a rubber with a my pencil on the other end. That works quite well because you can just go in a little bit finer. If you haven't, don't worry, it's not a problem. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come round and I'm leaving a white gap. Make sure your pencil is sharp for this because it won't work if it's not. And the same on that side. And then I'm going to add the shading. And I'm going to come down with that shading. And again, notice that there's a little bit of a white bit just there. So I'm not going to come really close to that lip edge. I'm just going to and everything I'm doing at the moment, I'm doing quite lightly. I'm not doing it too thick because if I did for whatever reason go wrong, then I can rub out. Sorry, that's my that's my roots there. I'm just trying to get up close and personal to it. You don't want to see my head and my roots. And then again, just carefully coming down. And now that I've started to put in this sort of definition, I can start to look a little bit better and a bit closer at the shape of that side, which I'm just going to ease up a little bit on that line. And just do that quite faintly coming out. So if you're finding, like I'm finding slightly that the when I'm doing the pencil, the shading, I'm getting quite a lot of shine from the light above me. If that is happening for you, then just you can slightly arch your book like that, and then or your piece of paper on the board if that's easier, and that will just help with that reflection. Obviously, I won't do that for you guys because you're watching this at the moment. So I'm just looking. It's quite good just to see it on the screen actually, because sometimes just taking a step back really helps. So if you're thinking that you're not kind of sure how it's looking, then actually just take a step back. So I'm just coming in to here. Now the other thing is you've got some of these little, you know, where she's got her kind of whiskers. So again, you just want to do like little kind of little dots almost of darkness. So it's sort of gradually coming out that little bit darker from the mouth area. Let's just work on the top here. I'm just checking it to make sure. Oh, so some having trouble seeing my drawing. Okay, I'll try and move it down. So sorry, this might be a bit shuddery a minute. I'm going to just move it down a bit so you guys can see a little bit closer. Hopefully that's a bit better for you guys to see what I'm doing. Okay. I won't get my head in the way then so much. Well, it has got a bit of a shadow on it, so let's see if that's a bit better. Okay. So where was I? So just looking at the details of the nose, and then again, like blocking in any kind of shape for shadowing and texture. So if I go round to the rest of the, I'm just going to loosely put in, again, very lightly, but that kind of indicator as to where there's naturally some sort of shadow happening. Let's just see that side as well, because I've got that eye and then that is coming in. So I'm going to move this eye slightly because that's not quite right. And I'm going to make that a little bit wider. And the top bit a little bit lighter. And then you can put in, so again with the eye, so I'm just going to look really carefully and notice that it's almost looks darker. So there's two little white bits there, and then it's darker in the sort of corner. Okay, so kind of just putting that in there. So I'm going to draw those lighter bits in first, because that's easier to do that. And then you can build upon the eye. Again, start off lightly and then work into it. Notice as well that it's sort of almost quite flat on that edge there, and her eyebrow sort of coming up and then down. Let's say, so kind of, yeah, just looking carefully at what you're seeing in front of you, really. That ear needs to come further down. That's why that's not working at the moment. So I'm just looking at everything that I'm doing as a marker point, and I'm noticing things that are working, things that aren't. So actually, I might need to work a bit more on her nose at some point as well. So let's talk to you a bit about the fur. So hopefully you feel a bit better about adding the eyes. And that's still quite light there. I'm just looking on the laptop here. It's still quite light. So you could add, once you're happy with the positioning of the shading and the eye, then you can go that little bit darker. You can go over it. You can work into it. And that's where it will start to come together and give it more personality and come to life. Okay, so I'm going to put a line through. sort of doing that. I can't see much in the way of an iris. There's a little bit just around the edge, but not much. So I've just left a little bit of that blank or lighter as well. So when it comes to the fur, so let's just look at that, because that is quite important. So notice what I'm doing here is I'm doing it in little dashes, and I'm doing it sort of coming in the same direction as I can see on the picture. So I need to make this much darker. And again, these lighter bits, so these light bits where it's just catching, you know, sort of a bit that's kind of sticking out on her, or the light's just catching it, that you would want to leave completely white, almost. So it's kind of saying to yourself, right, I'm going to leave a line on my drawing which isn't shaded in. I'm just going to get a little bit darker in there. I actually feel like that might need to be a bit further over, actually, now I've done all that. Because looking at that marker point on the jowl, that's actually further over here. So let's just put that back in really quickly. And that gives me the space that I'm needing, which I haven't got on this side before. So I guess that's the thing, you know, when I'm drawing these sessions with you guys, it's about being reflective, and it's about looking at kind of what's working, what's not working for you. Yes, it is annoying when you have to change and move something, but at the end of the day, it's much better to have something which you've really challenged yourself with, and you've really stretched yourself. So just something to sort of think about a little bit when you're doing these sketches. So I'm doing it very lightly at the moment. And I'm just going to go a bit harder in there because it's a bit darker. And let's just get that darker again. So you can see here, I'm just putting in the details that I can see, which is sort of these coming along down the front of her fur. So again, use your drawing as a guide, as a marker point. So if that shading here, that actually needs to be sort of on par almost with this. So if it's not there, then go back and get it in the right place. And the reason for that is that those definitions, those parts of the body or the shadowing that you're doing, that's all helping create the depth and the physique of the dog. So it's quite important that you get those right. So I'm literally just working my way down, and all I'm doing at the moment is just this dash, dash, dash technique and leaving out areas which are lighter. So again, you know, when you start to do the shading, you can see, well, is that in the right place? Do I need to make that a bit thinner? Maybe I might come back to that in a second. So, you know, there's those questions that you can ask yourself, and that's important practice to be doing whenever you're doing this. I guess what I don't want people to do is become frustrated and feel, you know, oh, I can't do that. That's too difficult, or that's really tricky. Hopefully, you've seen from me when I'm doing this is I'm constantly checking it, double checking it. You know, if it doesn't work, I'm rubbing it out. So it's not about I've just drawn it and I've done it straight away. It is about looking and being careful with what you're doing. So some of the hair is kind of going this way, and that's because it's on her chest. So with these bits, that's going to be a bit harder because you're going to want to angle the pencil, the marks that you're making this way. And actually, if I get rid of, I've done that line to help me. I'm just going to get rid of it actually, because what I can do then, as I've kind of done that other darker line on this side, is I can leave some of these bits sort of joining and some of them lighter to kind of suggest that you've got these little hairs. I need to do it a little bit more refined, so I might want to sharpen my pencil as well and just get that a little bit sharper. Or if you've got one of these, which are one of the little clicky ones, oops, just trying pencil, they're quite good because again you can be quite refined and quite close with those. Just got my pencil a minute. So the so it'd be interesting to see what the owner will make of all of our drawings, and I really hope that everyone is happy to post. You can post them in the group chat on Facebook again. It would be really lovely to see it. It has been really lovely for me as, not having been able to do my normal workshops out and about in Bristol and Somerset and things. It's been really nice to see everyone's work. And what's been great is, it is a proper class in the sense of we are producing work as a team. And, it's been really lovely to see that side of it. So do keep posting the stuff in the Facebook group. That would be really great. And also, please invite other people as well. That's also really good. Helps me get my name out there, so to speak. And it's nice to have other people come join. I will attempt to try and do another go at Zoom. I haven't put the details on the group chat because I thought initially if everyone, maybe some people were trying to get on it that hadn't done the class, and then that in itself makes it a bit difficult. So if you've done the class and want to be part of the Zoom chat after, I will put it on the picture of this, and I'll put it underneath that. So I'll post this into the group chat in a bit. So it's a bit darker there, but notice as well that it's light and then followed underneath by dark. So all these little bits are really important to be looking at. Let's move it up a bit so you can see a bit better. I'm hopefully going to get a proper webcam soon, so that might make things a little bit easier with viewing. Hopefully, I won't have this kind of Keith Robinson setup with a phone on a tripod, which is casting the shadow. So apologies for that, but just trying to make do in the situation. And the hairs are going this way, so yeah, we're just putting in that detail, that structure of the body at the moment. So let's just come back to this because that's kind of sticking out a little bit at the moment. So I'm kind of working through that quite quickly now, just to give a bit more depth to the body, just so you can see. And other things, that you do need to think about too are the eyebrows. So you can almost see the eyebrow kind of almost like a bigger kind of arch shape here. So kind of just getting that in, all that suggestion of that, because that kind of characterizes the dog, those eyebrows. That's what kind of says, oh, please can I have some more food? And I know that from my obviously meeting this dog, but also my parents have got a chocolate Labrador who He's brilliant. He's very good with my children and all of the children, actually. I'll just do that very lightly. What else do I need to show you? I need to show you the feet very quickly, the paws. And then I will leave you guys to it, and we will aim to do like a quick Zoom chat at 9 to see how you got on. For those people that are watching this now, obviously if you're watching this on replay, then that's not possible. So this paw isn't quite the right shape. So look at the thickness. Okay, look how thick they are, and one's disappearing. So again, just looking really carefully at what you're seeing and sort of go from there. So it's slightly almost, I don't know if you can see that, but it's slightly on this toe, almost kind of curved. So that's something that you can think about as well. Just whilst we're on here, guys, as well, at the end of this video, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then, you know, when I do kind of, well, you always get given this link. So this isn't currently public at the moment. This feed is private only to you. And then I will make it public and I can edit it out and stuff like that. So, but yeah, you can subscribe to my channel. And I think you can do that by just clicking on the little green logo. I'm just going to change the shape of this foot as well, because that just does not look right at all. I'm not quite sure that looks right either. I'm just going to bring that in a little bit. So if it doesn't look right to you, then don't just go, oh, that's right. Just change it. And you can always like look back. So just look at something else and then come back to it. And that also helps, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I can get quite blurry from doing artwork and can kind of feel a bit like, you know, your eyes kind of go a bit funny. I am wearing glasses today. That's mainly to help with the amount of detail that I'm putting in. And then the sort of shading for the back leg is that same idea. So I'm not doing massive big strokes over the whole dog. It's about layering, it's about building up and working with that to get your detail. Okay, so hopefully you guys have had a go at that, and post us your pics in the Green Fox Workshop group and we'll have a look at them. And if you'd like to come and join me at 9 o'clock on the Zoom meeting, then that would be great. Thank you for joining me tonight. Take care. Bye.